on. Okay, so I got how much time you got?
Uh, as much as you want. Sunday
Okay.
morning, nobody's here.
Sunday morning, all right. So here's the problem. Oh fuck. Um really shouldn't swear like I do. We're split between three angles, and which is the right angle to go down. Um
Okay.
all of them cost. We can't afford them all. Um I'll There's another thing I've realized, like a primitive. Um, the primitive that we haven't really thought of or considered before is the primitive of the bot.
Mm-hmm.
And we haven't really thought of the bot as a thing, even though we've spoken about it as a thing. But every time when we talk about its internals, we really
Mm-hmm.
talked about it as, some messages on the disk, some API calls out, some sysprompt here.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of not really an embodiment or a thing. And even with the transcludes being either stuffed into its live context or stuffed into its sysprompt, it was always a an assemblage of things. It was never a thing unto itself. It was always just like a collection of Lego pieces loosely held together, right? And so it was kind of leaky,
Mm-hmm.
and it was hard to get a handle on, And then we've got in the Dreamcatcher.ai platform, we've got this concept of an assistant, which gives it a little bit of a handle that you can put around and hold it. But as we know, that doesn't really work, and it's sort of got these issues. And then what you really want to do is you want an assistant to call another assistant
Mm-hmm.
to get its job done, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then you also want that assistant to have access to files or repos, which could be arbitrarily large in terms of size and whatever. And then I want it to have access to tools. So many tools that we came up with the dynamic tooling system, so that they could navigate in and out and all that, right? So that's sort of where we found ourselves, and now we got like two interfaces going: the Dreamcatcher.ai one, which has run its course because I cannot get dynamic tooling via MCP working in that thing without a significant amount of panel beating. And then this other interface that we have dynamic tooling working, but we're sort of working from the ground up, and it's still not really treating. That's very MCP heavy. It's not treating assistants it's not treating bots as a thing. It's still just treating it all like conversations, and you have a chat, you say a thing, you call a tool, and
Mm-hmm.
I've
Mm-hmm.
sort of lamented to you or hinted to you that I'm like, man, I don't even know how we're gonna make bots call bots. Like, how does that show up in that UI? Because we got this like long thread UI model, and I'm like, how does it look when you got multiple threads? And how do you have like background threads that triggered that were long running and just sort of popped in, and we're like, oh, you mean this thing based on all your context, and then they pop back out, like all that kind of stuff
Mm-hmm.
still wasn't there. We were just building bits that we knew were essential, but we didn't really know what comes after,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um,
Right. Right.
so that's the stage that we're at. Um, you and I both tried Codex, the cloud version. We thought it was pretty good. I used it intensely for like a month and a bit, and then I got all the jobs done and was like, uh oh, now I actually have to think. Turns out Codex can't do fuck all about that, which is sort of more irritating. Is like if you'd had a long journey and then someone gave you a car lift half the way but you'd never seen a car before, and then they dropped you out halfway, and you're like, motherfucker, like I wish that, like I feel like I'm worse off. Yeah. And so there's that.
You're halfway to Alpha Centauri, and it's like, yeah, okay,
Right?
I need to get off here.
It's sort of like that. It's like you get like the rest of the way. Like I might as well have stayed home. All right, and then we also had Codex CLI, which came out I think round about the same time, maybe earlier than the full blown web codex. But Codex CLI was always a little bit mute or tame, something like that. And then along came GPT-5 with this incredible long horizon tool calling ability, like just incredible. And no one mentioned it. No one really knew what it meant. It's not making the rounds really, but actually, long tool calling, long horizon is like, it's kind of the whole business, right?
Yeah.
And then we got, Cursor running GPT-5 High on a long horizon task is doing, pretty good. It's got some good results, good things. So then I was prompted to take another look at the Cursor CLI. Oh, please don't. Oh, no. No. The screen. My computer went into sleep mode, and then... Oh, no. Oh,
we don't have to sort it. Well, I just bug out and come back.
True.
Well, I just do it.
Hang on. Oh God, I do hate this shit. Okay. Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, please.
Yeah. See if I can say.
And I'm so sorry to do this to you. I need you to do that one more time, because all that happened was you left and came back in, and then my stop sharing command was honored. And now I need you to leave and come back in so I can...
Right. This time what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave, count to 10, and then come back in.
No. You're good. Just go out and come back in. All it is a reset, because it's like my last command needs to be honored. I had to stop sharing before I could share it again. And now it just honored the... It's like... I'm so sorry.
Zuckerberg really needs to spend a bit more... Yeah, a few more billions on this.
Right?
All right. I'm coming back.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, buddy.
I can see stuff.
So sorry.
On the plus side, the reload cycle was quite fast, actually.
Well, it shouldn't be happening. Let's not get drugged here. So I'm gonna turn my screen off after, like, fucking never, and then that won't happen again for this session.
Okay, no worries.
My bad. All right. So we got Cursor. Runs pretty good, and then I took another look at the Codex CLI, and it turns out that in the meantime, the Codex CLI has been revamped to be in Rust, to be pretty high performance, like very, very swift, and it also works by default with GPT-5. More importantly, I can do something like... Can you read that on the screen, all right?
Could do with being maybe 1+.
1+.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, perfect.
Perfect, okay. GPT-5, reasoning effort high. And when it runs, I gotta say it runs pretty damn good. Sweep the code base and find 3 high quality bugs. Then fix them.
What? That's an unnecessarily unfair thing to ask.
Watch it move.
Okay,
So it's got this note tool. It makes little to-do lists of what it's going to do.
okay.
And then it rolls through. It's got LS, right? So this is the first part. It comes in with shell tooling. We were coming in with MCP tooling, which was quite rigid in that it needs to be very well defined. It's got shell, like it understands.
Aha, I see it. Yeah.
You know, it has a bunch of built-in tools as well. It also has an MCP server in it. Sorry, it can connect out to MCP servers, no problem. Again, it doesn't support the dynamic MCP server functionality that we need. I can patch this code to do that, but I just want to point out that once again, this is a Frontier model company's tooling that they are actively promoting and working on that doesn't support dynamic MCP. And I'm not saying that dynamic MCP is not the future. I'm just saying that nobody's there. And so in the core, you can actually, what I've learned how to do is, this is the, wait, where was it? The prompt. This is the prompt that drives the whole thing. So
who's provided that prompt?
that's built in. That's from OpenAI.
Okay.
They prompted Codex to do this.
This one, mother of all prompts.
Yeah, but what's really fun is if you look at the timeline, then you can you can see how the mother of all prompts altered from 4 months ago, and every so often they add a little bit, add a little bit.
That is going to be my afternoon with popcorn.
Add a little bit, add a little bit, add a little bit, and then you get today's version, right? So, where I'm going with this prompt, I can override that. I have been poking at the system here, and the reason for my panic is I'm like, it feels like a time for if I am to switch targets, if I can sell you on this concept, then I probably need to do it sooner rather than later. And you need to be aware of it because you're waiting for some other stuff, and that stuff would be different or changed.
Okay.
And so I don't feel like I've given you enough information to explain the situation yet.
Standing by to stand by.
But so I'll keep at it. So yeah, it's got shell commands. It's got all these other things. But what it feels like.
Ooh, I saw some.
Go.
Sorry, no,
Go.
I'll do it some one time. You scroll past it, but there was a section there, ambition versus.
Precision. Yeah, ambition versus precision. Yeah, right. So this is
interesting.
This is really all adapted for GPT-5, right? So subtly, there's so much in this prompt, in the design of the tooling, in the things that they left in and left out, that we will never understand the amount of experimentation and internal debate that OpenAI went through to arrive at this unit of code to be all the evals, all the internal model tweaks, all the this, the that. We'll never know.
Right.
They're not
Yeah.
trying to hide it from us. They just, even they're experimenting. But more importantly, this thing ought to keep pace with OpenAI as they move forwards. And I am convinced that their goal is to make the best model. I don't think they really want to make the best wrapping or make the best secret sauce in their products. They actually want to make the best model because they're like, that's where all the money is. You could have all the secrets.
That's where the billions are.
Yeah, you could have all the secret sauce and the wrapping that you like, but a better model is just everyone's gonna switch to that because they don't really care. They'll deal with it, right? So I think there's a good case to be made to say that this tool will continue to ride the frontier from OpenAI because of reasons, I guess.
All right. So basically, we're betting on the horse.
Well, I'm not betting on the horse. I'm betting against our ability to beat this horse. So we should treat this like a taxi or a bus that's going a certain way. And right now, we can get there faster on this bus.
Okay.
But
can you give me a second?
Sure.
I've got a cat meowing in my ear here, which is starting to get
cat
irritating.
meowing?
Yeah, I know. It's needy. Cat's needy,
A cat meow.
Right, get the fuck out.
Get the fuck out. I can still hear you,
I wasn't talking about you. I was talking about the cat. Right. Okay, so your argument is that this is a faster bus.
No, hang on, no. That is not what I'm trying to push. That is a precursor for what I'm trying to push.
Okay.
Fundamentally, when I look at this thing run, so it's this is like, you'd agree that this is a pretty long. What are you doing?
Oh, no, I can't come back in. I'm just doing something that's probably inappropriate. It's gone. It's gone.
The cat is gone, like permanently. Like, is it ever gonna come back? Or...
No. It will come back.
All right. So this is
not
what
gonna like me for a while.
This thing. Oh, you're saying it did before. So this thing is a long horizon task, right? It's done while we've been chatting. It's done a lot.
Yes.
It hasn't. I don't know if it's lost its mind or whatever, but just skimming it, it looks sort of like it's still on target. It's got that little notebook that it used to keep a to-do list, so you at least know that hasn't drifted.
Mm-hmm.
So what I think we've been lacking is an atom of, like, I want to say agency, but if I thought of this thing that's running right now as a bot, and I was able to sit in the distance and send it instructions, and it had its little environment, and it had all its stuff, and it had the network, and it had that, and it responded to what I said, that feels like a better model of an agent than what we currently had, which was kind of all in bits. Like, this is a unit. Like, what this bot would do is I would spin it up in a dedicated Docker container, and it would run inside the Docker container until I had finished with it, doing these long-running tasks. It would be able to call other such agents that spin up in their own Docker container. Sorry, not agents, bots in our terminology. it would call other Docker containers that would spin up and run the same in the background, that would act like, from its point of view, that would have just been a tool call. Whether the tool call took 2 minutes or 2 years doesn't really matter to it unless you gave it a concept of time with a tick. But the idea is it can come up with tasks, and then it can call other versions of itself that have been prompted differently, tooled differently, to go off and do whatever they need to do. And so the proposal I'm making is that it may be that dynamic tooling with MCP is not actually the way to go. It may be more dynamic bots, where one bot would use a search tool to search for bots that could do a certain task, and then it hands the job off to that bot. Because the problem we were facing with the MCP route is that we got to get the tool prompting really good for a bot to be able to use it. We hadn't even spoken about testing those tools with a specific model, with a specific sysprompt for a specific purpose. But when I see these guys, they've got all these tools, but they are heavily prompting the sysprompt to handle the tools and to know the concepts that exist within it. And so it may be that we are being archaic in wanting arbitrary tool sets to be called up, when really what we want is bots that have been tested to solve a particular type of problem, and then they run like this thing fairly in a long horizon way, and then come back with the answer. And what I'd propose to you is that we use this code base as our unit of botness. Like this is the engine that keeps pushing forwards. Before, that engine had to be inside of Artifact, and we never really got that going with Cohesion, because it was always made of little bits. This is a unit, and what it would do is you give it a job, it would pull down the Git repo from Artifact, treat it like a file system just for ease of implementation for now, whir away and do all its stuff, call the web, call the tools, call MCP servers on Artifact if it needs them, call this, call that, come up with the diff that it wants to make to the changes, plus the reply it wants to give to the open-ended text-based question, and then when it's finished, it's like, okay, done. You can carry on your conversation if you want to say more to it, and it fires up again. It's got all that context. It does the same thing again, or not.
Okay. Pause.
Yep.
All right. Still thinking, but discrete question. The unit is an instantiation of thread and the bot, basically the right hand side of the screen here. That is the unit of thing that we're talking about, interacting with other things. Is that right?
Sorry, one more time?
The right hand side panel here is a bot that has considered a whole bunch of things, done a whole bunch of stuff, and so on. That can be put into cold storage and then called upon.
Yep.
In a discontinuous way.
Correct.
I'll spin it up.
Correct.
And go back to sleep.
Because that's how we should have treated or thought about bots anyway. It was always our intention, that feature, but this represents a very firm embodiment versus us. We made hand-cobbled versions of that that did little bits of this.
Yeah.
And
Sorry, man. I'm still in the
sure,
thinking mode.
yep, go.
Okay, so it's the nature of a discontinuous unit. That's the interesting thing here. So that discontinuous unit is that right-hand panel. It's done
Yep,
a bunch of stuff, and it knows about its own stuff,
yep,
and it can be discovered by other things
yep.
that can spin it up from deep storage or wherever, and say, do this next thing.
Correct. You can leave it for a second or for 10 years, and it will carry on exactly where it left off.
It's that discontinuous nature that I think you're driving at. So when it spins up, you're just asking it a question. It doesn't know anything about anything else other than its own thread and what's just been asked. And it's going,
It also has files, whatever files you gave it.
right, sure, because the file system is separate from the unit of bot. In that right panel.
Yeah, but it comes. It should be very deeply tied together. But yes, it is separate. It is like the global state of the system, the repo state. It is separate. Yes.
And for example, you could have a bot that's put on deep ice for months. There is a repo that it was previously considering. That repo has moved on. You could wake up the bot again and say reconsider, and it would go, whoa, everything's changed. Okay, right, I'm going to reconsider. But it would know what it was doing previously.
Yeah, it knows about Git.
What's the I mean, how do you store that discontinuous bot?
Easy.
I mean, is it?
I'll show you.
I mean, that's the essence that I think we were driving towards anyway, but these guys seems to be further on in their thinking than we are.
They weren't trying to help us in any way, but they have ended up with producing a unit of agency. I think is really the best way to describe it.
It is like I had a fascinating conversation with an AI about what it thought about its own thought processes, and that's where I got the term. It came up with the term. It's discontinuous, in that it goes to sleep.
Yeah. So I would say that an agent is not discontinuous. An agent is continuous.
Yeah,
but an agent is made up of a continuous collection of discontinuous units of agency. Yes. And so an agent contains many of these things that whir away discontinuously to present as a continuous thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's like a train of thought or something.
Yes, it's recalling. I'm not sure if there's a human analog here, because this continuous thing really does my head in. It's really worth a bit of thought. But you just basically park that, go to sleep, and then boom, you're back up.
You're back up,
and it's like, yeah, it's like getting a genie. It's like, I've just been asleep for 3 millennia. What would you like? And it's still got all its context. Okay, and so you're saying it's
well, because this here, like this is the JSON file that backs that whole task that just occurred.
And you can spin that up. You could put that onto
resume it
disk. You could put it onto a USB.
No, you put it straight in Git so that you can refer to it as an object.
Yeah, but it's static.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. So you move it around like any other file.
Like any other file, yeah.
And so spin it up, and you can, when you spin it up, are you creating a new bot that just thinks it is the only bot that's had that thread. So I guess you copy and paste that JSON file and then spin up 1,000 of them and ask those 1,000 a different question, and they'd each only know about what they thought before and what they're being asked now.
Correct. You can have cross-agent communication, though, because they can be given a tool to be aware of their siblings, and that all comes down to prompting. So we give them a tool that lets them peek at the current state of all their other siblings, so that they can make a decision.
Sure, but because it's a static file, you could easily have another bot that just occasionally grinds through all the bots that you've created, which are in cold storage, in order to create some kind of index, in order to have discovery. And so you spin up one that happened to be talking in Urdu, one talking in, Russian, whatever, and saying, right, okay, I want the Russian one, boom. And here's everything that's happened on the right-hand side.
Yep.
So, okay, right, I've got the concept, and what's the question?
What are we trying to do with this? Whatever I'm building now, what are we trying to do with it? Because this feels like, it honestly feels like the way to go, but it's different to what we just spoke about 2 days ago.
It is.
And I wanted to go through some of the scenarios that we hope to solve with our tooling, because I'm struggling. There's a lot of them, and I'm struggling to run them all in my head. And I really wanted some support to check off that the path I'm wanting to head with this achieves everything and hasn't dropped anything or lost anything.
Okay. Well, let's suggest then a good use of the next 10 minutes. Let's do a thought experiment through the translation thing, which is
yeah, cool.
I think meat is good meat for this.
Okay, all right, cool. So just to give you an overview of the cost involved, I think that I could make this run in your terminal in a CLI. I could probably make that run, tomorrow, where it can have its own custom prompts and it can roam about on your own files and all that. But that's just Codex. I think subtly the real power comes when we give it a very special tool, which is the ability to reinstantiate itself, either exactly or with a modified toolset or prompt. And then that thing too has the power to call on a child to create a child as well. Like if we give this thing spawn, then it feels like we're finally off. Like I can finally imagine a tool running all night, non-stop, grinding away in our service and having something meaningful to show the next morning. But it needs spawn.
Okay, so we'll come back to spawn in a couple of minutes, but can you tighten up what you mean by itself? Are we talking about...
If we talk about it as a unit of agency, it can it can spawn another unit of agency to be in its service, just like it was spawned to be in our service.
So you've got a JSON file, and it's called upon to do a task. And what we prompt it to decide whether it needs to spawn, or do we say every time we ask a question, you automatically spawn?
That's tunable and configurable by us. My belief is that it considers what it's been asked to do and decides if it needs to spawn or not.
Okay, so there's going to be some sys prompting saying, I'm going to consider everything that I've done up to date, and what you're asking is quite a difference. Right, okay, bear with me with this one, because just out of usage, what I've noticed is quite often I ask different questions, say from on ChatGPT portal, and I've asked it one thing. There is a cognitive loads mostly around the lack of indexing, that I don't necessarily open a new thread for each thing, so I can ask it something completely different.
I think that how we would immediately configure the system is that your first unit of agency would be the operator, the long-awaited operator, and it would know of all the spawns that it's created for the different tasks, and it would see if what you're talking about is best to thaw one of the frozen spawns and continue what it was doing, or if it should make a new one, or if it's nice and quick, like it's about everything, then it might answer directly. But I think operator fits this model perfectly because our job becomes really a task management system, like a massive task management, project management system, which we of course have bots to help us with, but the interface becomes job dispatch, tasks progress.
Well, here's a thought, and this might, well, certainly isn't right, but why not spawn every time?
Because sometimes might be a continuation of a previous run.
Sure, but the spawned one would still have the continuation,
Sorry,
and
what?
the I mean, the storage is de minimis; it's just text. So if the operator decides this previous bot, which we don't have a good name for yet, but the right hand side,
Yeah.
why not spawn every time? Because that allows you to go down different rabbit holes. So I want to do this. I get this far, and it's like, okay, deep storage. And then I want to do that. Okay, so you got halfway to that with this previous one. Let's spawn it. And then I want to do this other thing. And it's like the previous right hand side is still valid as a choice by the operator. Maybe it's closer, maybe it's less polluted. So why not spawn every time?
I'm sorry, I don't understand. I mean, continuation is not spawn. Continuation is continuation.
Yeah, but
Spawn means new.
actually, okay, yeah, I see. No, I didn't explain it well enough. If an operator finds a right-hand side instantiation that seems to be the best one by
Yeah.
discovery, why not just copy and paste that and then continue? Because then you can go back to the previous one. The previous one hasn't been polluted with, what you've
With this new thing.
added on.
Yeah, you could do that, but I don't think that we can know at this point in time, like that's an option. How we would configure and program the system is going to have to be feedback based and eval based. I don't know which one's the best. You could do it either way, but you could also achieve what you were talking about because each when each agency when each bot had stopped, it would have become a git commit at that point, and so you can continue and then you can realize that maybe I wanted to continue but without this pollution, or that was the wrong thing to do, and so you can go back and get history and start again as well. So I think you may have been thinking about a flat file system to store them all in, but they're
Yeah.
in Git, so you can they're in Git, but more importantly they're sort of their own separate thing. They're a unit unto themselves, or I don't want to say a branch, but they kind of are.
Yeah, the reason I'm bringing up that because you noticed when you uh, in the public portal of GP, if you share a link, it comes up with a advisory saying anything that you do after the point of the creation of this link is not going to be shown
Yeah.
when someone else clicks the link.
Yeah.
But when you click the link, you can actually continue the
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah. So that's we can do that. I'm not sure what the best behavior is. We can do all those things. I don't think that's also a problem and a feature of any of the other ways that we've spoken about as well.
Right. So whether you, if you've got something from Deep Store, bring it back, whether you copy and paste it and then continue with its clone, or whether you do it on the original, we can decide. I suspect that's going to be limited by the discovery of the operator, the ability to find out whether you've gone off-piste or whether it's better to actually regress. But as you say, repo-wise, under the bonnet, yeah, we've not destroyed any data.
No, and you don't. You might not know if it was wrong until after, so you can roll back and roll forwards. Yeah,
that's usually the case. Or unless you're.
I feel like we drifted. Where were we?
So
this document I wanted to show you contains their version. You said we don't have a good word for that. So they've gone through and kindly written down all the entity. This is their dictionary that they have made.
Oh, that's nice.
It is very nice of them. You know, they've even defined things like a turn, a task, a session.
Oh, turn. One cycle of iteration in a task consists of a request to model. Oh, nice. That's neat.
Task, session, all that stuff. The interface, you know, they got all these. They've named things very well. And then
where is this? Is this?
This is the Codex code base. If you go to OpenAI/Codex.
Right. Cool.
Nice little diagram for us explaining how all the interactions go.
Yep.
We're not really. This model still works perfectly fine in the dark edge world. There's nothing here that is not blockchainable. The implementation of exactly how we structure the data, I'm not 100% sure on. It might be that each agent has its own branch. It might be that it's just a little spot on a shared file system. I'm not 100% sure, but what I am sure about is that it should run in its own Docker container, and it should have shell tools. It should have basically all the tools that they've made for it here, and will continue to add and refine, because why would you not give it all those things?
So how does their tools map to the tools that you've been writing?
Deeper. So their tools are, oh boy. The formatting has not come out pretty. This was because there's some issues, right? Like I can't. It's all in terminal, so if I was on another computer when I did this, and so I had to copy paste it in here so that I could be at this computer to show you about it. Right. So the tools, shell, which allows basically any Linux command, local shell, exec command. Those are all the same thing. Update plan is their planning tool. Apply patch seems to be a special one, where that's how they deal with making changes to files efficiently. It really just creates a git patch and then applies it to the current repo. MCP tools, that's like we can supply our own MCP servers in there. It does do dynamic prompt construction, where it alters the prompt composition on the fly based on things like the permissions level, based on, I think,
That's what we were talking about 2 calls ago.
yeah, it swaps it in and out to just change information that it gives about the configuration of the system, and it just picks a different prompt based on that.
Does it apparently update the sysprompt, for example, based on usage? Is what we're talking about.
No, the sysprompt never alters continuously, but if we get this agency model done right, I can imagine giving it a tool that allows it to modify its own sysprompt on the fly. But that is, I would call that dangerous personally, because it's like, photocopying a photocopy of a photocopy, and then you're like,
yeah, it's feedback loop, but with negative plus positive, then it should trend out. Otherwise, it's going to go through the roof. And
yeah,
very weird.
So I think the number of tools are very small. It gets given a shell, the patch tool, the plan tool, and that's it. And then off it goes.
Okay.
And so I can't really, in reasonable time, recreate the capability of the Linux tools that run in the shell. And I suspect that the training that has gone into these models is very familiar with the outputs of those shell tools. So I'm inclined to just say that we should leave that alone. And I can break the work up into 3 phases. The first phase is to get this system working with the real file system, where all we do with Artifact is we do a genuine git checkout to pull in our files from our Artifact store, splat them out on disk as though it had just checked out from Git, and then run this code verbatim in a dedicated container in the cloud. When it's finished, we then perform the freeze operation, which turns it into a commit, where we commit the state of the bot to Git, and it also pushes the commit on the working branch that it was working on as well. So when the agent has completed, its execution state will be stored, and its changes, if any, to the repo will be stored, merged, conflicts dealt with, whatever. And phase 2 would be to make some file system shims within this project so that I can swap out how it reads from disk to use our virtualized version of Git, which we've been using all along, so that it doesn't have to do a checkout on a really big repo or any repo at all. And it's just like that basically makes the startup time very low, the efficiency of the process very fast. Those are really the only gains. And then like the third stage is where we would depart from writing this project. I can't imagine why we'd want to depart from it, but that's at the point where we go to replace shell and we make our own tools or something like that. I don't know. I'm starting to think less and less why we'll ever need to do that. I'm sure that we can take this and just add MCP tools or add our own little tools in here and there. But look, man, I don't know what to say to you. Like, this is at the level that they've integrated here, it's pure computer. Like, it's just POSIX shell.
Are we losing anything? Like,
yeah.
We're talking about a virtual data center where, we're moving around objects to dark edge devices.
Works perfectly fine. The difference is that I would say that during a long horizon task, we would only do a commit at the end. But if we wanted to, I mean, we could do commits periodically. It's just where the commit occurs is where the continuation is possible from. So we could commit after the bot has finished its task. I think they called that the task, where it's like done a bunch of steps, done some reasoning, done some tool calls, done some, then it's like dink. Or we can snapshot it at each point, or a mixture where we're like, oh, it's been 5 minutes, okay, snap. And then whenever you have an error, you can just you can recover from that point. There may be some work required to make the shell calls be deterministic. So when you want to do replay, shell is not guaranteed to be replayable, but that's the only time that we would opt to make our own tools or provide a patched version of the tool, which sounds a lot harder than it really is. There's actually a lot of people that have gone to a lot of effort to patch the entropy holes in everyday Linux tools. Interestingly, a big user base of that is the Tor network, where they do things like they patch the clock so that the clock doesn't sort of have a signature jitter or delay. They patch the timing functions in the system. They patch the randomness generators. They patch all these things to make the system look generic. And if you can patch it to make it look generic, you can patch it to be repeatable. So,
Right. Yeah.
but
Or
yeah,
you can snapshot with the seed at the time.
well, yeah, but because we're hitting the Linux system, if we would need to patch dev random to be seedable. But I mean, that those are not they're uncomfortable things. Are things that I would rather not be messing about with the internals of the Linux kernel. But here we are.
Okay. All right. So we're not losing anything on the dark edge. We're not losing anything on the distribution of information.
No, because it's all Git. The distribution of the execution is based on its determinism or its repeatability, and you know we can turn off shell as well and let it go with just predefined tools, or you know whatever we can curate the list. So it's not as clean as when we controlled the execution environment, but it's definitely doable to make it repeatable.
From what I've understood of what you're saying, we're not losing anything in terms of burstability because...
I would say maybe burstability has gone up even.
Why is that?
Because the burstability unit is this unit of agency, and it's much simpler to think about having a system that just is good at scaling up these single agency units where they kind of they're always the same. Whereas before, our code was it was meant to be burstable, but who knows if it's a big job, little job, like what the fuck's it doing? This unit of agency, if the only real difference is the prompting and some of the tools that go on in there, it's a very homogeneous unit. And so you can have a bunch of them on standby ready to go, and you're just dispatching jobs, and you're like ding 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 ding, you're just firing up the same unit over and over again. Whereas in the other way, it was designed to be, the response time was meant to be a lot quicker, but the variability, the inability to know about a load, like load balancing, I was like, I don't really know. We'll have to figure that out when we get there. But the way it was designed with MCP tools everywhere, it had to be very quick. Whereas this can be slow because it's like it's doing a long running job. It doesn't matter that the tooling is slow or the unit is slow. It's long enough that everyone moved on to do something else, which means you've got all day, really.
Right.
And so basically you'd have like a range of these containers on standby, and then as soon as you need one, you just pull it off the shelf and off it goes.
And run it wherever you want.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? So parallel calls with with different models. That is just a matter of spinning up one of these.
Well, also Codex, this code base has allowance for a wide range of models. Like it can take OpenRouter, for example. So you can easily get it to switch out the model that it's using under the hood, no problem whatsoever, including switching it to point at a local GPU run model running on something like a Strix Halo.
Right. Okay. All right. Or you could specify it, and then run up the what are we calling that thing on the right on the previous screen? What is that? That unit of thing.
The unit of agency?
Yeah. We need a name for that because it's not. It doesn't. It's an instantiated.
It's a running
bot,
thing. Well, let's get what their terms were. Codex session?
Possibly. Codex current configuration and state. Yeah, it sounds like session, doesn't it? Current session can be configured with additional configs.
The codex session.
Any running execution is aborted when the session. Any running execution is aborted when the session is reconfigured. Okay. Maybe we diverge slightly
or
there.
Maybe that's just a task, because while it's running, so even when it's paused or frozen, it still has a unique session. But while it's running a task, where a task consists of a number of turns. The turns are what the model's doing over and over until it reaches, until it terminates. But the task is the turns running.
Right. So the task is effectively your thread. The next thing that changes the state is the turn.
Yeah.
And the thing that's running the task is the session.
Yeah. And so, like, I could do a git commit after every turn, but probably just for now I'll run it after every task.
Yeah, not after every turn. That sounds excessive.
Yeah, but in a highly unreliable environment where you were dropping and having to restart very often, and also the longer your tasks become, the more you might want to say, well, every 5 minutes do a commit, just whatever the next turn that completes is, do a commit there as a checkpoint.
So the thing we're really talking about is a session with a task, I think.
Well, a task, because tasks run within sessions, and it says here, session has at most one task running at a time. So if you say task, you mean the running thing.
Right, which implies a session, which is, okay, so it's a task. And do they say anything about frozen tasks, as in...
Session is a frozen task. The codex's current configuration and state.
There's a cycle there, isn't it? I mean, so the codex, the session is the codex's current configuration and state. The state is task.
No, the current configuration and state is like the parameters that, like the history of the tasks, but it's saying that you can only run one task at a time, but you may have run previous tasks, but that's all part of the state now.
Oh, I see.
Where you trying to get to with this? Because
I'm trying to get the right name for
the thing on
that
the right.
frozen. The thing on the right when it's frozen. What is that
Oh,
unit
oh,
for
yeah,
you?
yeah, yeah. I can see that. I can see that name. Um, the frozen. The frozen. Ah, God, I know what you mean. It's like a shimmering kind of a snapshotted
Yeah,
still. It's like a halted, a
it's,
quiesced codex session.
yeah. See what I'm saying? Because then that unit is going to be the unit that we pass around, that we call on, that the operator is going to search
Yeah,
for.
it's frozen and it's ready to go, like it's loaded.
Yeah.
It's well, I don't know, mate. You name it, and we'll run with
Listening.
it.
When a turn complete response ID from the model's final response complete message is stored in the session state.
Because see, these guys are not at all concerned with persistence. These guys are all runtime. But it
Right.
turns out that their work in getting runtime to be clean is exactly what we provide the artifact notion, the snapshotting, the halting. We provide the, what do you call it in the VM world? It's like a, like
Image?
they are running, yeah, an image. It's an it,
Yeah.
but VMs call it a snapshot. But I think they had another name as well. It's like a VM snapshot is very light because it's only the diff of what changed.
Yeah.
But that's what we're doing to it. Like they've
Yeah.
got their running
It's like you've got a
thing.
VM, you've halted it, you've put it onto disk, you
Yeah, but you
forget
froze
where the
it.
disk
You
is,
froze it
and
when
a few
you
months
freeze.
later you go back up and you rerun the VM,
Yeah, isn't that
and it
called a frozen VM? Like when you freeze it to disk?
I haven't. Oh God, damn it! What is
Because
the
you're
name of
not
it?
like,
There's a name for it. There's a name for it.
it's like you stopped it, you suspended it,
Suspend. Yeah, suspended. Is it
suspended,
suspended image?
suspended animation sort of thing. Like you suspended the task. Sorry, you suspended the session.
Right. Yeah. And you can take your, go off for a month holiday and come back
Yeah,
and rerun the
yeah. Why don't we just
suspended
call it a
image.
snapshot? Because it's like a point in time where we were able to quiesce everything it was doing, snapshot to disk, and then it can keep running, but we can also cleanly start again from that consistency checkpoint.
Yeah, that snapshot makes sense because,
Snapshot? Yep. Okay.
yeah,
Okay, snapshot it is. So, where were
right.
you going with that?
No, just wanted a way of saying something other than the bit on the right.
Okay, cool. So, the
Um,
snapshot.
so if we pop up a couple of levels, we're going to do a turn-by-turn walkthrough of translation.
Yeah.
So the translation requires parallelism because of the subtleties of idioms and so on. I wonder, can I share my screen? Because
Oh, you love a good risky move, don't you, buddy? You're just living on the edge here. The dark edge of screen sharing in VR.
where the fuck is the PDF? Watch yourself. Right. Make that big. Thank you. Right. Can I just go share? I wonder.
Ha.
Ooh, right. I think I can. I'm going to take over.
Uh-oh. Okay, good luck.
Taking over. That didn't work.
Do I need to leave and then come back?
Hold
Yep.
a second. It's just saying take over.
Yeah, go on.
Click. take over, and it's not coming up.
I think I need to leave and come back.
All right. So
Can I
what's
share
the-
you something on the screen here? Now that since we went through all the trouble of getting
well,
this screen
I
share.
can, well, an easy way, I could just forward you the PDF and you can go to
Sure.
public speak. Stand by. Forward. Bish bash bosh. There. If you go to Appendix B. Is the landscape one. There.
Oh God, my poor eyes.
Small.
What are you trying to do to me, Max?
Right. Okay, so that is basically the translation flow. So you take the input of the text that you translate, and then by semantic chunking, it's not just doing the next paragraph or the next chapter. It's looking at things like conversations between characters or whatever. So you're breaking it up into reasonable sized things. Then you're getting the context extraction, which is who are these characters? Who's talking here? Now that parallel translation bit is the interesting thing.
So you could use spawn at a snapshot, and you'd spawn multiple different versions, multiple parallel children, and you would configure them all differently as you've configured here, and then they would run until enough of them completed that you could move on to the next stage. Perhaps you need all of them, and then that comes back to parent, and then that does the assessment of all of the outputs, but could also look at the train of thought that got there as well.
Yeah, and once again, I bemoan the lack of a laser pointer, but you see the parallel translation. That is okay. So you're translating that, but then you're getting the bot to think about its own translation and explaining why it translated that in that way, given the context.
Yep. Yeah. And then deeper is an outside loop, a secondary loop, where another long running agent was looking at all of these results and trying to improve the base prompts.
If you go over to the right, you see that arrow at the bottom that goes back into context extraction. That's where that loop is. So
yeah, but that's not no. You've come in from the human feedback, but we can actually do that feedback with an agent that's simply running as a background process, that's just looking at the accumulation of all these parallel runs and trying to see how it could make it better. The human thing just feeds back in there too, yes, but it's possible to look at this and try to improve it even without humans.
Yes, it is. I mean, the human thing is there as an arbiter. You could swap out further along to the right. You could swap out the human editor by a bot that's coming in cold and going, okay, so the if you scroll down, we're getting slightly off topic down here, but if you go, I think it's Appendix F, which is a suggestion in terms of confidence levels and how to deal with confidence levels. Consensus, yeah. So that this consensus, I've not tried this yet, but this consensus really comes down to you've got the context, which is a feed in along with the original text, and then you're throwing it off to the number of bots. You go all the way through, and depending on how confident the result is, if you've got higher confidence level that there's a certain idiom or whatever it is, then you can feed that back. The human editor is there to basically point out, screaming problems with it, but because it's a feedback cycle, um, it's uh, um, it's got positive feedback and negative feedback, which again, the feedback cycle should trend to.
I can't see any reason why that isn't possible using this agency model. You might
I
even consider it being a little bit heavy, but I think that we want to. It's better to come in too heavy and just pay the bills in terms of wasted compute than to try and be too fancy by breaking it down. Like, I could see how you could break this down to be much more nimble where it was just single calls. But if you fire up one of these full-blown agents every time, at least it's like maximally configurable. Like, a full-blown Codex agent can do a really stupid task, no problem. But something tuned for doing really simple tasks cannot do the Codex task. All I'm trying to say is, I think the principle is this standard unit of agency is like, it happens to be the best agency, the most powerful, the most broad that we can think of, but we use it for everything. So
Yeah, and also I can see with um, uh, this feedback can be the feedback on the same chunk of work that you've got, where you short circuit, you don't go through, you've done the semantic chunking, okay, you got a chunk, you go through the context extraction, you go through the parallel translation, go through the analysis, and then you update the context extraction. That context extraction could be, you take those four, let's say in this case, snapshots, and let's add the new context to the bottom of the previous snapshot. So
right, they could right. So you could run them with memory, with like
yeah,
changing windows, where you experimented with moving the windows around to see if you got better consensus or
right.
right.
Oh, also, if the editor had to step in and going, nah, you got that wrong. Here's the right thing. Then because of that feedback loop, you're not starting from the start of the whole translation step, which is quite
Mm,
expensive. So it's
mm,
actually going to be cheaper.
mm,
Because it's like, you
mm.
spin it up,
Yeah.
and it's like,
Well,
there's your thread.
turns out I know that, like, I try very hard to ignore cost, because cost in this world just always comes down. It's quality
Yeah.
that's number one, and even speed isn't so important. But turns out that with Codex, you can log in using ChatGPT. So all these Codex calls are unlimited in effect because they're considered under the Pro plan,
Huh.
which is nice. I
That's
mean, I'm hitting the
that's
limits
nice.
of my Cursor plan. I think I burned like $50 in the last 3 days. So I plan to
But
smash
the
that Pro plan.
but the pro plan on ChatGPT is well, hypothetically unlimited. I'm
It
sure that
lost
will
its
change.
shine for me. I was going to cancel this month because I was like, I actually don't use it anymore now that I just use Cursor with
Uh-huh.
GPT-5. I don't use Codex anymore. Um, and GPT-5 Pro isn't that useful to me because GPT-5 is pretty good. So, um, but now that we have Codex, I'm like, I think that's the way to go. So this all
So
works. I feel like you're getting way into the weeds here about trying to solve this problem rather
no,
than
no, no,
trying.
no, no, no. I was testing our thought process by a real problem, and I can see how, with snapshots, as described,
Yeah,
that this would actually be improved.
right.
Um,
I just want to point out that we always had snapshots, but I think we're both finding this mental model of thinking about an agent unit as a snapshotted thing. It's a lot easier to think about than the sort of the loosely defined, loosely contained way that we thought about it before.
yes, it's more of a singular object, but what
Yeah.
I'm getting quite excited about is the thought about, and we'll see. The point I was making earlier on about why not spawn every time, because then you get
Yeah,
thought
yeah.
processes. But
I
I'll come back to that. I'll come
I
back to
don't
that.
I don't care about that. Without, I'm not trying to be rude, but I don't care about that. I care about giving you the option to play with that. I
Yeah,
care about making sure the configuration can tolerate that, and it can. So whether or not that's the right thing is up to a
yeah, no,
matter
no,
of
that's great.
preference and evals. Um,
I'll get excited in the privacy of my own room.
so I know that it's sort of a bit soon to pop the question. I'm sorry I don't have time to be romantic over it, but um, what do you think about abandoning dynamic MCP tooling in favor of static MCP tooling with the search and the search fetch load being replaced by search fetch spawn, where the searching is now searching for these codex agents that have been tooled up with static MCP tools and prompted and tested and reasoned about, and then when you call them, then they fire up and do something that they're good at, rather than calling in tools that you may not have used yet.
It feels. Pause.
I'd like to speak
Yeah, go for
as
it.
soon as you're ready.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. What? So, in a system that's looking for, it's been given a task that it doesn't know how to do, and none of its existing tools um, function not found. So it's unable to. It knows it can't do what it needs to do with what it has in front of it. In our old model, it went out and it searched for some tools. But when it got those tools, first of all, it needed to look at them from the search results and look at them from the description of the tool to be able to have an opinion. It may look at the source code of the tool, but then when it goes to run it, it needs to experiment with it. What if it used the tool wrong? What if it made an error? What if the tool is configured badly? What if, blah, 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 all these things. So actually a better way to do it is that it searches for some tools, and then it spawns a test agent, where the test agent pulls in these tools, and it runs a cycle like a driver, where it tries to do the task at hand or some hypothetical forms of it, and it on the fly tries to adapt its sysprompt and the tool prompt definitions from the code that it's pulled in, so that it makes itself an agent that is at least, even if you gave it like 2 loops around, it's going to be like probably 300% better than if you just tried to use the tools directly in the calling thread, right?
Yeah.
So it hauls in the tool. It went looking for an agent. It couldn't find one. It hauled in some tools and it made itself an agent. And then it looped the agent through the self-improvement cycle a couple of times. And then it was like, okay, my spawned little agent thing is ready to do its job. Go. And then it kind of just keeps looping until the quality gets acceptable. And it's like, I think that's as good as we're going to get. That's it.
Yeah.
And then that leaves that snapshot available to other trusting parties to build upon next time. And so the library of snapshots grows as more cycles tokens are expended to refine them for different purposes. The idea being that if you use a particular snapshot for several different tasks, the more general it gets, the more stable, the more high quality it is. It's less finicky, less fiddly. It's more general.
And because there's snapshots, then that is rich hunting grounds for automated stock finding.
Yeah, absolutely. Which, background processes can be trying to refine independently, because when this bot needs to do the job, it's in the hot seat. It's like it's got to go. It's like, I got to go, got to get this thing. Go, 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 go. And it doesn't have time to sit there sharpening the saw. it's under pressure. But the shore sharpening happens anyway, and then next time things are better. And that is self-improvement.
Yeah. This method of using snapshots seems neatly simpler.
It seems, I want to say it's like 100 times simpler.
Yeah,
I feel like I can
always a good thing.
comprehend it now. I'm like, oh yeah, it's just a thing.
It's because why
Why is it
seems
simpler?
obvious.
It's the same thing. It's the same pieces that we've always spoken about, but you're not allowed to disassemble them anymore. You have to treat them like a unit.
Yeah. That is probably where the simplification comes, because it's like, I have a thing. Okay. Spin up a thing. Do that thing.
Yeah.
That vast.
And I think because the Codex codebase came along and it did that thing so much better than we were, that it became obvious to treat it like a thing. Whereas for us, we were dealing with every little bit, and so it wasn't really a component.
We were trying to assemble on the fly, whereas they're taking effectively off the shelf based on previous iterations, previous runs of snapshots and so on. I like it. It seems simpler. Ignoring the sunk cost, fallacy. What's next? You're saying that this is actually going to be easier than pursuing our previous path anyway?
No, not quite. I'm saying that dynamic MCP tool calling might work, but on the fly, but these Codex agents configured with static tools will be better at the job that the tools were intended to help solve every time.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
But also that we get the benefit of, and this seems to be a running theme, which I hardly agree with, if someone else is putting in all the effort, let's
ride the horse instead of walk and get trampled by the horse. Now, we can, for the time being, we can ride this particular horse, and the compromises for us to sit upon it are not that great, really. We only really start to get shaky when we get into dark edge repeatability of calculation. So, at that point, we've got a exit path. We know how to get off. It's just a little bit costly, but the gains in the short term are massive, and we're sitting there right at the industry is pushing us. We're not swimming unaided. The wave has picked us up. We're on the wave.
Yeah. Okay.
There's something else I'm saying too that is, I apologize, it's hard to say clearly. But it's that we should make this standard unit, this repeating unit of agency, be the biggest, most powerful thing we can, and then just use it even for the tiniest of tasks. I know I said that before, but I'm trying to get at, like, is that okay? Like, I mean, it could be horrifically expensive, but maybe it isn't. And so that's really one of the gambles that we got to take. I think I can make it very efficient to use it for all the things, but
do you mean by a unit of agency what we're calling the snapshot or something else?
Yeah, no, the snapshot. But the snapshot when it's running is and how you provision the snapshot before it becomes a snapshot. So how you prompt it and how you run it in a container, the environment you give it, the storage costs that it incurs, the the pull from the repo to get the files there in the first place, all that stuff is what I refer to as the unit of agency, because it's even simpler for you and I to talk about just the bits to do with the end usage of these tools, but it is remarkably simpler for me to think about because all those things I just explained are all now considered the unit of agency, as opposed to like they
Right.
were.
And your question is it excessive to use that full um, framework for the simplest tasks?
Yeah, and
I see. I don't think we need to worry about that.
it should be all right? Because you can kind of use Codex right now, um,
Yeah.
and when
Well, sorry. To finish the thought, the reason is what we're comparing it against. It might feel expensive in terms of traditional compute, but we're not comparing against that. We're going to be using this, or the use case usually has the comparison against a human doing whatever the tier 3 is trying to do with this
right,
tier 2.
because I think what we've done in this move is all the macaps that we spoke about have now been wrapped in one level higher. The Codex agent sort of doesn't do just one macap call, it does a whole range of them over a long period of time. And so that means that we don't have to think about each individual macap like that. Those are still very cheap to run.
Right. And also, it's got NCP integration already.
Yeah,
So external calls
yeah,
done.
external MCP calls as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it seems
So
kind of like, yeah. Are we? It sounds like we're saying this is the way to go.
I think we're in sync here.
All right. So
It does
just to
feel like
recap,
we're charging ahead of a flame frontier. It feels like that.
fuck, I'm always like annoyed. I'm like, why did we not know this earlier? But also relieved. I'm like, thank Christ we're on here now. Um, dynamic MCP was against the grain. Like none of the big dogs had put that functionality in their libraries, so probably the models weren't trained to use it well.
Yeah,
But
but
these guys,
NCP is here to stay anyway
oh yeah,
because
yeah, yeah,
standard
yeah,
dynamic was our
yeah.
fucking with it
So probably the
basically.
form factor question is the other one. I could fuck around and get this going in your CLI, and then you could use it pretty early, but you wouldn't be able to do spawn. But then I could spend maybe a couple of days more on it. So like probably middle of next week, end of next week, um, and get it
Well,
running in the cloud in that spawnable unit way.
yeah.
But
Let's take it step by step because this is still. I'm gonna listen to this recording again. Um, let's take it step by step. I think uh, well, it's a priority thing, isn't it? And there's probably going to be new stuff that we haven't thought about come up, and whether Spawn is where it comes on the priority list is yet to be determined.
I think that spawn is everything. I think that spawn is the key to massive token rate consumption
It
for us.
is, but we're talking about automated Spawn, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we'll probably be able to spawn manually.
We need auto spawn because otherwise we're just using a turn-based system where it's your turn, bot's turn, your turn, bot's turn. Oh, make a new tab. Your turn, bot turn. Right.
We do, but what I'm saying is in this next week, uh, if we get the base up, we can then look at what the priorities are because there's I don't know. What I'm saying is I'm too ignorant to give you a good answer right now.
All right. So
But
at
yes,
this point in
spawn
time,
is important. Spawn is important.
yeah, at this time, I think that the best path is to get Codex up in the cloud, because that will give us a web-based interface, because that right-hand box that you saw of it running, I can just take that exact text and put it in the web page so that you can see a tree of all your bots that are running and all the suspended
Ooh, that would be
snapshots,
nice. Oh, that would be
and you
nice.
can just dance around them, and it just shows you that same terminal UI. It's like, well, that's the history of the thing. Here's the finished outputs. Then you should be able to just dive in there and browse the file system of that snapshot at that point in time, and then kick it off again and start talking to it while you're in there talking about the file system.
That
And
would be
then
sweet.
that's kind of what we want, right?
Yeah, that would be well sweet.
And I still don't understand exactly why it's so simple to talk about that because of this unit, but that seems trivial now, where you can have a tree of these long running tasks, and you jump in and out, you see their status, you kick off new ones, they kick off new ones, you start some of them can talk across run. So like you can tell a bunch of them to wait and then get together, or have an orchestrator communicate and then share information and then proceed again to the next sort of point. Like all those different topologies can be handled in this unit.
Is why do I like this so much? You remember the analogy we used to talk about where you're in the you're in an office and you've got like 1,000 employees outside waiting on your
Yeah.
on your orders.
Yep.
Um, the snapshot thing feels feels a lot like
It
those
feels like a
1,000
person,
employees
eh?
can. Well, it's not only that. If you call in your accountant, you can clone your accountant.
Yeah. You can suddenly the accountant can clone himself, because you're like, hey
Yeah,
accountant, go through these million rows, and it's like, sure. And then it goes 1, 2, 3. Oh, taking too long. Oh, look, if I cut this up into blah 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 blah. Okay, go.
right.
And then
And
it's
now you've
like,
got 10 accountants, and
yeah,
then the 10 accountants arbitrate between themselves and then come
yeah,
back while
yeah,
you're still talking to the accountant.
yeah. That's what this feels like. It
Yeah.
bothers me that I can't say why it so vastly simplifies it, but perhaps that will come to us later. So basically, you're like, do this thing, yeah?
Yeah. Do this
Do
thing.
this thing. So the MCP work, I'll pause. I will no longer pursue dynamic MCP because it's got no use immediately. I'll snapshot it, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
Um, I'll
Oh, no, that's a great analogy. Yeah.
I'll keep the
Snapshot that. We'll come back to that thread.
yeah. I'll keep the MCP server is still critical, because that's how Artifact stores its data.
Yeah.
Um, I've and now I'll work on getting Codex able to run in this base unit of computing, and I'll
Yeah.
try and keep it as close to the OpenAI version as I can, so that we can ride the horse for longer without being sort of having to patch it
Yeah.
too much. And then hang on, what am I doing? So I'll get Codex up, running in the cloud, using Artifact, using MCPs that are statically programmed. So I'll continue with the work on making MCAPs work, so you can make, focused bundles of code that can do various things
Yeah.
here and there, like Fibonacci sequence or whatever.
Yeah.
And also, I'm not sure I need them that much, but it is a good way. God, this is the thing, I guess. if we have these agents, MCAPS goes down a lot in terms of inter repo communication, because if you just fire up one of these agents, and these agents could just pull in an npm package. They could pull in just a like a piece of code. Like the shine really fell off of. I mean, MCP is great still, but if we have these units, I'm like, what are we doing again? Sorry, we got Git, and we got these agents. Where's the MCP?
External calls to things that need to be wrapped, I guess.
Well, external calls. Yeah, but that's just an MCP gateway. When we have to change all the shell commands to be repeatable, that's where MCAPS can come back on the scene. But even then, I'm like, it's not as like it was everything 2 days ago.
Yeah.
2 days ago, we were like the solution, because the bot was going to browse around, grab MCAPS, do some work, grab another MCAP, blah, 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 blah. Now I'm like, it doesn't really matter as much.
Well, they're kind of being consumed, a bit like mitochondrial DNA.
Anyway, look, we don't need to have all the steps laid out, but we know that this is definitely better than where we were heading. It gives us the same things we wanted long term much sooner, right?
Yes.
We haven't lost anything in terms of Dark Edge. Is it still important to be on the web? I feel like it is, because that gets us users.
Yeah. I don't mind too much. I think I said a wee while back, I'm quite happy with the CLI. However, everyone else is not of that.
Well, the thing, the CLI is good for one bot, but it's not good for managing a swarm of them. Whereas
no, that's true.
The web, you kind of do need some UI for that one, I gotta say.
Yeah, you probably do. Well, normal people would. I would just open up a number of different terminals and jump between them.
Well, would you though? Because that's just how you've been conditioned, but really you should be expecting your system to be able to.
Yeah, you're quite right. To get anyone else using it, there's going to need to be some kind of model.
And if it's running in the cloud anyway, because like ideally we want a swarm of agents should be running for both you and I all the time, that is doing more compute than our personal computers can do. Like, that's cloud, that's burstable. And then suddenly it's like, you're like, oh, Scott, you got like 1,000 agents running. What are you doing? You're like, just digesting the fucking blah, blah, blah census. And then, it's kind of done. And you're like, yep, sweet. So.
Yeah. Good. All right. Stick a flag on it and call it a plan. I'm happy with that. I think this feels good. Interesting.
Yeah, I just wonder what. Sorry.
No, I'm just saying, it just feels like it's going to be easier to explain.
Much easier, eh?
Which usually means it's simpler.
Well, it's wrapped nicely, it's packaged nicely, because otherwise you end up trying to explain a software program by talking about the dependencies you consumed to make it and how you bundled those together. But really, you're like,
here's a unit thing. That's all you need to think about. And sure, there is the same kind of activity going on, but because you can talk about that unit, you're abstracting that activity.
And the unit metaphor is accurate. Like you can imagine that you could explain loosely how the system works, and many people would come up with use cases for it that would make sense. Whereas,
Yeah.
with Artifact, it was sort of easy I could imagine that people would have drifted wildly, and I'm always like, no, you can't do that because this or that or that or that. But this, it's like, it's pretty easy to get the metaphor, get it right, and understand how to use
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Okay, good. I think we're just turning over our agreement here.
Yep.
So, and I'm gonna need to go
Okay,
soon.
sweet.
Not immediately, but
Okay.
soon. Was there anything else? I think we've gone through everything there, haven't we?
Yeah, it might be that putting things in context, like Concat might have run its course as well, because like this bot just sort of walks around and browses around, and so maybe that's better.
I put a pin in that one because I'm a bit of a lover of Concat.
Yeah, you love to stuff it all in the context, but all I'm saying is it might. Yeah, we need evals to know if it's better or worse, but a more elegant solution is to give it the files, and then the bot considers the question and then pokes at the files and does like searches on the files and grep and
Yeah, that is more elegant. Yes.
yeah, because when it does pull out the bits that are relevant, they're much more focused.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll build us the unit of agency, and I'll put it in a web page, and then you can see what I just showed you in the terminal on the web.
Good. Excellent. I have run out of things to try and kick your idea with, and we're in agreement in a way.
Okay, well, that was quick. All right, I'll see you later then.
Well, before you go,
I'll stop the recording.
Yeah, go for it.